Boormans with a 4-1 lead after the first game. Won by 13 points, as you see there, in pinfall. And they are making a change, the Boorman team, for this second game. Teddy Papadinets is out. Doug Buckman in off the bench. And the order in which those three will bowl is also a little bit different. Bill Boorman moves into the leadoff spot for his team. Brad Ball will bowl second, and Doug Buckman throws third. For the Wilson team, that lineup looking a little bit different as well. Bob Wilson will be leading it off this time, as you see here. Christy Wilson throwing second. Ken Wilson remains in the number 3 position. And Bob Wilson leads off with a chop spare. And Boorman cleans up after a split. Boorman takes 10 points in the first frame. Here's Christy Wilson, who lost to Brad Ball in her first game match. And it'll be Wilson, Christy, and Brad Ball going toe-to-toe again here in number 2. Ball, chop there. Christy with her .220 average from the regular season. Takes 5 with her first shot and blows the second one by, so she'll try to pick up the 15. Ball off the mark there. Brad Ball is in fine form in the first game of this semifinal, rolling a .284 to Christie's .229. Bill Boorman defeated Bob Wilson 193-156, and Ken Wilson topped Ted Papadinets 256-187. Ken Wilson now off to a flying start. Strike for him in the opening frame. Ken had 4-bagger in the first game on route to his 256. Strikes in frames 2, 3, 4, and 5. Doug Buckman benches first ball of the afternoon on the headpin, but he punches it through. Doug Buckman with a .209 average in the regular season. Appeared in 30 games, piled a 14-16 record. His high single during the regular season at .291. So Billy Boorman, the captain, mixing things up a little bit here. And of course, his team, after finishing second in the regular season, home team for this semifinal matchup, so they get to set the matchups. The Wilson team had to submit their lineup first as the visiting team, and the Boorman team went to work after that and got the matchups the way they wanted. So 4-1 after game 1 for the Bill Boorman team, which means, of course, that the Wilson team to victorious here will have to either sweep this game, take all 5 points, or if they get 4 and earn the 5-5 tie, they'll have to hope their pinfall is higher. The Boorman squad, of course, the pinfall is the tiebreaker here in the case of tie in total points. We're in frame number 2 at Recreation Lanes. It's Captain Bill Boorman. Christy Wilson, after counting just 8 in the first frame, comes back with a strike there. Brad Ball also opened in the first frame with 15. Brad Ball also rebounds with a strike. So Christy Wilson and Brad Ball on track after open frames in the first. Ken Wilson gets the upper hand early on Doug Buckman with the strike. And he's there again, make it 2 in a row for Ken Wilson. Big start for him. And that's what this Wilson team needs, trailing 4-1. Quick start, obviously key for them. So Bob Wilson working on a spare, moving to the third. Christy Wilson and Ken are on strikes. And Doug Buckman picks up his corner there. And makes good on the spare attempt. So there you have it through 2 frames. The Wilson team out to a 34-point lead. And they've got to win the pinfall here. It's back to the top of the lineup and Captain Bob Wilson. Off the mark there. So he'll count 5 on his spare. Boorman. Third straight open frame for him. So Bob Wilson has the upper hand on Bill Boorman early. Bob Wilson comes back with a spare. 3 straight spares for Bob Wilson to start this game. Billy Boorman cleans up and takes 15. Boorman at 40 through 3 frames. Christy Wilson after the strike in frame number 2. 21-19 regular season record for Christy. Pulled all 40 games, as did her teammates Bob and Kenny. Just went with the 3 players. A couple of different ways to do things. You see the Boorman team actually using 4 bowlers. Giving them that option of making substitutions, and in the case of the Wilson team, they are going with 3 players, as a few other teams did as well. It's kind of just a matter of preference for the teams, how they want to do things. You can have as many players in your team as you want. Of course, only 3 bowling at once. 700 average cap was in place for the opening season of ML5. Each team had to be between 625 and 700. 3 bowlers on the lanes at any given time anyway. It must be no higher than 700 and no lower than 625. So we're in the 3rd frame, the second and deciding game of the semifinal between Team Wilson and Team Boorman. Ken Wilson now, the anchor bowler for his team in the 3rd frame after back-to-back strikes. And Ken Wilson makes it 3 in a row. Sometimes you need somebody to step up, take the bull by the horns, and Ken Wilson, the guy for his team right now, starting off with 3 strikes in a row. And as a result, Wilson's with a 196-143 advantage in pinfall through 3 frames. Doug Buckman gets his strike in 3 as well, after a spare in 2. Billy Boorman counts 12. His first ball in the 4th frame. Bob Wilson on the mark there with his first strike of the game. Makes that third frame spare count, and Billy Boorman picks up the spare in 4. The Wilson team grabbing the pinfall advantage right off the bat here, and hoping they can hold on to that right through this second game. Christy Wilson with her second strike of this game. Brad Ball also on the middle. He'll leave the right corner standing. Brad Ball with 51 through 3 frames, which put him 8 ahead of Christy Wilson. However, Christy, as we just saw, picked up her strike in the 4th, and Ball misses the spare opportunity.
Come on, Brad, throw your ball, Mike. Hang him. Hang him, man.
Brad Ball trying to pick up the 15. Ken Wilson now looking for a 4th straight strike, and he's got it. Ken Wilson continuing to hold the hot hand here with his 4th in a row. Not making it very easy on Doug Buckman here, who is just coming in off the bench. Doug throwing very well himself. Makes it tough when your opponent throws 4 in a row at you, though. And Dougie leaves the left corner standing this time. Coming off a strike in the 3rd, and makes good on his spare attempt here in 4. 3-4 complete now, an 83-point advantage for the Wilson team, doing what they need to do. And you can hear Ken there fired up, trying to get his troops pumped up a little bit, and Billy Boorman responds with a big strike in 5. Back-to-back marks for him. But, maybe the Wilson team sensing here that the opportunity is there now. Ken Wilson with the 4 strikes in a row and leading his team. Bob Wilson off to a good start as well. Misses the mark there with his first ball in 5, but still a chance for the spare after a strike in 4. And he's got that, so Bob Wilson gives him a 108 count after 4. The spare counting for him in the 5th. Brad Ball trying to bounce back from an open frame in number 4. And he does. Brad Ball comes right back with a strike in frame number 5. Christy Wilson leave the right corner standing. Doug Buckman, after 3 straight marks, comes up with a strike here, and Doug Buckman looking like making Billy Boorman look good with the move to bring him in. Doug Buckman with his 2nd strike, and 97 after 4 with a strike in 5 for him. And Christy Wilson just catches a piece of that right corner. She'll take it. Close call, but she manages to get the spare. keep it right there with Brad Ball. Ken Wilson now. He's on 4 strikes in a row. This one off the mark. Important now in this shot. Can't let that get to you. 4 strikes in a row. Obviously still a superb start, and he's going after the spare, and great shot there. Ken Wilson bouncing back after a miscue on his first ball, comes right back with a spare. And 101 points now the difference after 5 frames. The Wilson team well out in front. Bob Wilson. He has a mark in every frame to this point. This one gets in there. I don't know if you like that one off the hop, but got the job done, and that's another strike for Bob Wilson. Billy Boorman catches a piece of the head pin, but not enough. Settles for the chop. How about Bob Wilson, though? Marks in the first 6 frames, including a pair of strikes. Christie with another good ball. She had to pick up a corner pin in the 5th frame. She was good on that attempt. Made the spare, and another corner pin she's staring at here. This time a left. She was 53% in the regular season on her left corner spare attempts. And not this time. Pretty close, but just off the mark. Brad Ball now after a strike in 5. Can't make it 2 in a row. Christie misses again there, and she'll settle for 13 in the 6th. That gives her 114 through 6. Ball punches out head pin, and another open frame coming for him. So Christie Wilson has the lead on Brad Ball. Billy Boorman, the captain, looking on. And Brad Ball gets the 15. So Bob Wilson leading Bill Boorman. Christie Wilson leading Brad Ball. This man, Ken Wilson, leading Doug Buckman at the moment. Wilsons need 5 points or 4 points and the win in pinfall to move on. And right now the Wilsons leading in all 3 of their matches, and with a pinfall cushion of about 100. Can they come all the way back? Well, still lots of game left here, but definitely off on the right foot. Ken Wilson after 5 straight marks to open the game, and the punch in the 6th, and Doug Buckman gets a spare in 6. His 5th straight mark. And Ken Wilson does a good job there cleaning up. 188 through 6 frames for Ken. Buckman after the spare. Hanging in there. Well, Wilson would love nothing more than a double here. Try and pad his lead on Billy Boorman. And not to be this time. And a head pin for Billy Boorman. Bob Wilson trying to keep his string of marks intact here. He'll do just that. 7th straight mark for Bob Wilson. And he is on fire here right now. Christy Wilson back in the middle, leaves another corner standing. 3rd straight frame in which she's done that. She converted her right corner spare attempt in the 5th, missed her left corner in the 6th, and another left corner here in the 7th. And she's good on this one. So Christy Wilson, 2 for 3 on her corner attempts in this game. Brad Ball needs to get something going here. At 106 after 6 frames, definitely down from what he expects from himself, and a head pin there. Ken Wilson after a 15 count in 6. Another strike for him in 7. That's his 5th strike of this game. Brad Ball trying to clean up after the head pin. And right now, you'd have to say, even though the Wilson team down 4 points to 1 after game 1, they are in control of this second game. Leading in all 3 of the matches and well out in front in pinfall. And I think the Bill Boorman team senses that at this point. They are going to need a big finish here. That's how quick things can change with this match play format. Doug Buckman now, and a head pin for him. Tough luck for the Bill Boorman team. All 3 players with head pins in the 7th frame. That can just kill any momentum, and they'll have to start fresh in the 8th. Meanwhile, the Wilson team, 3 marks for them in the 7th frame, so this 7th frame could turn out to be a key when we look back at it. Billy Boorman trying to get his team going here in the 8th. Look at this, another head pin. 4 straight for his team now. And not much you can do. Bob Wilson, 7 straight marks coming into this 8th frame. And looks good. Leaves the left corner standing, however. And Billy Boorman leaving a little wood on the deck there. They'll try and sneak away with 10. Bob Wilson, meanwhile, picks up another spare. He has got it going for sure. Bill Boorman settles for 10, and all Wilson's right now. Christy Wilson, her high single in the regular season of 322. Chop off here in 8. Brad Ball now. He's on the middle, and finally something goes right for the Bill Boorman team after 4 straight punches. Brad Ball gets a strike. And Christy Wilson missing on that spare attempt. She cleans up, gives her 154 through 8. Hey, look at that pinfall advantage. 135 points the difference right now. Dougie Buckman with a strike though, so still a little life left in the Bill Boorman team yet. Back-to-back strikes for them. And they need every bit of it right now. Ken Wilson now working on a strike. Misses right with that one. Wilson, the 4th best average in the regular season with 239. And he misses that spare attempt, so chance now for the Bill Boorman team to close that gap a little bit. The 7th frame, maybe a swing frame for the Wilsons, and maybe the 8th frame could be a swing frame for the Bill Boorman team. They're working on a couple of strikes and a couple of open frames on the other side of things for the Wilsons. Still, though, a comfortable lead in pinfall for the Wilson team. Well over 100 pins. 100 points. 2 frames to go. Bob Wilson now. Continues to be all over that middle. Pleased with the way his game is around here in the second game of the semifinal. And on the other side of things, another head pin for Bill Boorman. That's 3 in a row for him. Sometimes the breaks just don't fall your way, and obviously that's the case right now for Bill Boorman and his team. In particular, Bill with 3 head pins in a row. Bob Wilson with another spare. 9 straight marks for Bob Wilson. 2 chop spares, a left spare, a right spare, and 3 5 spares to go along with a couple of strikes. Clean game for Bob Wilson so far. Christy Wilson throws a strike on the board in 9. And, pretty tough at this point. Almost out of reach now for the Bill Boorman team, and you can see it in his face right there. They may have let this one slip away. Went up 4-1 with their victory in the first game, but the Wilsons come charging back here in the second game. Brad Ball misses, and really tough for the Bill Boorman team after all those head pins. Seems like it just sucked the life right out of them. And having trouble getting any kind of sustained pressure going here. Brad Ball hasn't had his A game here. Again, break's not coming, and Brad Ball will have to try and pick up 15. And there's Christy Wilson. Senses that her team is on the way to the championship final. Ken Wilson with a little exclamation mark there. Another strike for him. His 6th strike in 9 frames. Brad Ball cleaning up, and we'll see what happens here. The Bill Boorman team, you know, they're not going to quit here, but say, looking at the score sheet right now, it's going to take a miracle for them. And a miss there, Doug Buckman. Especially with all 3 Wilsons again. Marks in the 9th. So they're set up for the 10th frame nicely with the foundation. And on the other side of the spectrum, there's a mark for Doug Buckman, but his 2 teammates open in the 9th. Buckman with the spare. And so we go to the 10th. 120 points, the difference in pinfall. The Wilsons are poised for a sweep here in the second game. That's what they needed. And not much celebrating going on there. Billy Boorman finally gets a strike. But, he knows this one's over. Bob Wilson. 9 straight marks coming into the 10th. Good looking ball here. Set of aces, not a bad time for it though. 247 for Bob Wilson in the 9th. Bill Boorman fighting to the bitter end here with back-to-back strikes in 10. But too little, too late for the Boorman team. Doug Buckman, solid effort from him coming off the bench, but won't be enough. Couldn't quite keep up with Ken Wilson. Again, that four-bagger by Ken to start off this game made things tough on Doug Buckman. Just one of those games where everything is going right for the Wilsons and none of the breaks falling Bill Boorman's way. Bob Wilson picks his 2 corners. A 262 game for Bob Wilson. Big improvement for him after 156 in the first game and well over his regular season average of 201. Great game for Bob Wilson. Couldn't have come at a better time. Christy Wilson after a strike in 9, off the mark here. So it'll be Team Wilson and Team Atwell in the 2-game championship final. $2,200 going to the winning team. $4,000 in total prize money up for grabs in these ML5 playoffs. Christie makes her spare and help her get over the 200 mark. Once again, bad ball with a strike there. Papa Dennett's on the bench this time, jokingly saying he's putting the pressure on. Great finish for Brad Ball, but he still can't win this match. They're not going to win the overall total, but Christie needs a good... She needed 9. She got 10. Christy Wilson wins her match. 209 to 207. She defeats Brad Ball. The only real close match of the 3, Bob Wilson all over Bill Boorman, 262 to 187. And Ken Wilson well on his way to victory over Doug Buckman. Another strike for Ken Wilson. He's had his A game here after a 256 in game 1. On his way to topping that here, and Wilson team has got to feel great heading into the final. All 3 of them really clicking right now. Good looking total coming for them here. As these 2 teams play out the stretch here. Doug Buckman cleans up, and a 227 game for him. Ken Wilson makes his spare, and Team Wilson moving on. 760 the total. It'll be the Wilsons and the Atwells in the championship final of ML5 2003.